Okay.
Oh, there we are. Okay. But anyway, and in a daring move, I'll try and make this a tiny bit multimedia as we go through the talk. But anyway, thank you for this. Well, okay, and here's the first I will try and share of the multimedia. I had thought about what was I going to talk about, and here we go. Will this work? Does that work? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, and so and it's I like this because it has at least one mathematical symbol in it. God is greater than the highs and lows, and we'll get to what I mean by that and how it ties to both our faith and our religion, but more important, and kind of how it flows from the various messages I've given over the years and how we end up to there. So anyway, that's the first thing here. Now I'll stop sharing, and let me get to my notes. Over the years, I've often said, at least for me, the principal job of religion was to comfort us in our mortality and to guide us in our lives. And I've given various talks, and the last one I gave was on not burying the lead. The newspaper term, don't bury the lead, don't bury the important part, which was predicated, remember, by me coming upon a woman that had worked for Mother Teresa. And I said, oh, Mom, wow. And then as we got to talking, she scornfully shared with me that she would never give another dollar to her church because it had become woke. And I thought, I think you're kind of bearing the lead, right? Because at least as I understand our faith, it is above everything else to do something with forgiveness and the inclusion of love. And one of my favorite quotes that I talked about in there was from actually a 20th century rabbi, and his quote was, any God who is mine but not yours, and any God concerned with me but not with you is an idol. Okay, and so we have to certainly what runs through our faith, and the foundation of it is that love. And I gave a talk about okay, love. God is love. Love, it comes through the faith. But at least for me, I wanted to make clear that love is not some concept in a rom-com. It's a very, very real and omnipresent and everlasting thing. Okay, and at least for me, it's easy to say that it's omnipresent. And I talked about being an identical twin, and if you're an identical twin, so here's another. Let's see if I can get the the multimedia thing here to work. Let's see. And so I just went to, let's see, PowerPoint. No, which PowerPoint is it? Don't worry, everything will become clear in a second. There.
Oh, look at that.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Let me make it big. Maybe I can make it. There, that's big. You see that?
Yeah.
So these, I just went to my photo albums, the photos over the years, and I just picked out pictures of my brother and me, my identical twin brother and me. And the point was that, and I told hair-raising tales of how, we can tell, I go to dial him on the phone and it rings because he's dialing me and stuff. All these pictures were when we were together at various times. In no case did we, it is unusual when my brother and I are together to walk down the stairs from wherever we are and not be dressed identically, no matter what the situation. So here we are together. They asked us, we were at an aquarium, and said, hey, sit down and we'll get a picture of the two of you on the couch. We sat down on the couch and this is what happened. We were down here in the lower right. Oops, sorry. Down here in the lower right, it was my 60th birthday party. My brother secretly had flown into town, and I had no idea it was a secret birthday party. So I was being told I was going to an art opening of some sort. So we're dressed identically again, right? And we end up at the 60th birthday party. That actually happened once when we were in an airport. We just happened to be both in the Midwest. I was going to the East Coast. He was going to West Coast, but we ended up at a Midwest airport as a transfer point, and we're walking down the same, that's right, the same aisleway, wearing identical outfits. People stopped us and started taking pictures, right? The point being, not that I'm an identical twin, the point is that we are connected. And we are connected in ways that are profound and omnipresent, okay? And for want of a better term, let's call that connection love. Okay, and so that is that point. And so love is omnipresent, but I think it is also everlasting. And I finished that little talk with a quote from one of my favorite poems, and it has a famous final two lines. Actually Ian liked the poem because he liked the image of it, but it was, it's an Arundel term that people are walking and they see this stone edifice for some tomb that's out in England someplace, and it's all worn off and you can't see the names and you can't see much, but it's the kind of stiff knight, and he's sitting there in his armor, and his wife is next to him in her stiff starched thing with the funny little hat, the wimple hat or whatever those things are called on. And you think, oh, yeah, oh, how severe, how severe. And then you look closely and he's taken off his gauntlet and he's holding her hand. And the last two lines of the poem are almost instinct, almost true. What will survive of us is love. Okay. So love is everlasting. Okay, love is everlasting. And it's an immortality we are easily given. Okay, we have the promise of life everlasting. Certainly the love is everlasting. Okay, and then earlier from that, so there's how should we live our life? We should share our love, and we should be inclusive in our love, and then I gave a talk which was it was started on the life of Pi, the novel The Life of Pi. Remember that? Well, obviously that's a favorite novel of mine for good reason, but anyway. And that novel starts with the narrator saying that I'm going to tell you a story that will make you believe in God. And then the story itself is this story of a young boy shipwrecked and on a boat, and the only other companion on the boat with him is a full-grown Bengal tiger. Okay, so that's quite a story, right? But the story ends, and obviously there's lots of adventures, but it ends with the narrator again, and he's now talking to the flinty-eyed insurance adjusters that have come to try and figure out how they're going to handle all the lawsuits of this and blah, blah, blah. And they're given a choice. Shall they try and put some kind of simplistic explanation on what has happened, or shall they pick the story that they've been told, which is this astonishing story, fantastical story? And they pick that story. They have the faith to pick that story, the faith in the narrator, right? So we have faith. We go through our lives. We should not forget about how we should live our lives. Yes, religion tells us how to live our lives. For heaven's sakes, we have a great example in Jesus' life. It's not hard to figure out how to do that. And we have the comfort that, that love that we have is everywhere and it is everlasting. But we also have to find this way through with faith, right? And and how does that faith come in handy? Well, and that gets to the lead 9, God is bigger than our highs and lows. The other thing I was going to name this was comfort and grace. Comfort and grace, which I think is the other part that, at least for me, is the astonishing gift of our religion. And so there are times when I feel overwhelmed, and this is certainly true of everyone I know in that church, okay? Whether we get unexpected diagnoses, if there are natural disasters that upend our lives, if there are wars, that poignant message from Olga this morning, if there's an inability to help those we love, which I know is true of myself and others right now in the church. So that's affected all of us. So I always start when I pray, I always start with thanks. I think my life, for its ups and downs, nonetheless, I've been very blessed. And so I start my prayers with thanks. But there are times when I find myself asking for guidance and comfort. And so I said, well, okay, good for me, but what does the Bible say about this? As you might guess, there's a heck of a lot in the Bible about comfort and grace. So, and what was interesting to me is I'm kind of a, how should I put it? I think again, I say I'm hardly a biblical scholar, and I tend to think of myself as probably more of a New Testament guy than an Old Testament guy. In my simple reading of the Bible, the Old Testament seems to be a lot about, okay, we've got the laws. Okay, we're keeping to the Testament, and okay, we'll do that. And when we don't, we get punished, and when we do, it gets better, and stuff like it. And then by the way, here comes Christ. Okay, and just love, right? Here, I'll sum it all up for you. Love your God and love one another as yourself. Okay, got it. Okay, so that was my way. Astonishing, when I started looking through this, though, there is a tremendous amount in the Old Testament. So let me give some of these. So we'll start with Psalms. Here's something from Psalms 113. And it starts out, just to remember, God is a blessing now and tomorrow and always. God is higher than anything and anyone, outshining everything you can see in the skies. I thought, okay, well, good, yes, absolutely. And then this from a psalm. He picks up the poor from out of the dirt, rescues the wretched who've been thrown out with the trash, seats them among the honored guests, a place of honor among the brightest and best. Wow. Well, that's, so okay. And we also, in the New Testament, we just went through with that a bunch of stuff from Romans. Here's from Romans 5. And it talks about, the offenses, and it goes on, but then it has a line, where sin abounded, and he's talking to the Romans, where where sin is abounding, grace did much more abound. Sin has reigned unto death, but grace reigns through righteousness unto eternal life by Jesus Christ our Lord. And then in Romans 8, God works for the good of those who love him. He's gonna be there. And then another one from later in Romans 8, absolutely nothing can get between us and God's love. So this comfort that at least I seek sometimes, and the grace, the forgiveness for, as I bump my way through life and sometimes are less than a perfect example of Christianity. There's nothing that gets between us and God's love. Okay. And going back to the Old Testament, Lamentations, man, when I think of Lamentations, I think, I'm not sure, how much is going to be in there. That no, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. In this line I love, they are new every morning. Okay. What a great thought of that is. So, and it goes on. Here's one from the New Testament, Philippians. Whatever I have, wherever I am, I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. And it finishes with, I am able to do all things through him who strengthens me. So again, my life has been relatively, I've had some ups and downs, but not hard ones, but we all have things that can be incredibly beyond us, greater than us, but we are able to do all things if he strengthens us. Here's from Deuteronomy, another Old Testament. The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So, and it finishes with, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. And then I think of Olga, now is your time of grief, and John, but I will see you again and you will rejoice, and no one will take you away from your joy. In Christianity, we're given this astonishing gift that Jesus comes to earth and redeems our sins. I mean, the grace, we're given this grace. And which I think would be enough. I mean, wow, that's astonishing. But no, we're also given this promise of eternal life. Okay, and so, wow, maybe that can, when we are grieving, that can give us some hope. Let's see, and then yeah. Then may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace. That's from Romans. And then in the Old Testament, in the Psalms, again, often thought as, David is running around in the desert trying to make sure Saul doesn't get him. And he's praying up to God, hey, get me through the next day, that kind of thing. You're great. Please get me through the next day. Here is one from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. So, and then from the Psalms, obviously, the 23rd Psalm, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, you comfort me. Yes, this shepherd. We have an always present, omnipresent love of us that we cannot be separated from. Okay. In Isaiah, it says, the Lord shall renew your strength. You will mount up with the wings like eagles. Yeah, that's a nice phrase. And Deuteronomy again says, love, your Lord God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. So to me, at least, this is if you will, one of the cores of Christianity, to me at least, is this, this fact that we are given this grace and this God that is always with us, and in that absolute certainty of that, and that God in Jeremiah has plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. That even in times of dark, no, he's got plans for us. And even in our mourning, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted, from the Beatitudes, right? So, and so, at least for me, it speaks to this point that yes, religion and our faith is there to give us some ideas on how we should live our lives. But it is here to comfort us that he has us in his hands. He's our shepherd. He will guide us and protect us. And he is there with an infinite forgiveness. So he is bigger than our concerns. And he has given us this grace, comfort and grace. So, I'll leave the last verse from the Bible, which is what we will do in a few minutes as we get ready to finish the service, perhaps. It's from John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. So there is my short, but I hope meaningful message for the church today. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Don't know if you can hear that.